All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne Bowers, the Development Chair of the Graphic Artists Guild, and welcome to Guild Goes Live, your monthly check-in with the Graphic Artists Guild, where we spotlight what's happening across the creative community and chat with professionals occasionally, which is one of the things we're doing today. But before I go into our actual discussion, let me just give you some of our event updates and all that. So I have a list, so don't mind me. I am totally reading off a script. We have Freelance Fandango, happens every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is your weekly drop-in for creatives of all kinds, cartoonists, illustrators, photographers, writers, graphic designers, and beyond. It's casual, virtual, and open to all. Bring a coffee, bring a sketchbook, and just be yourself. Our monthly webinar is happening on Wednesday, August 20th at 2 p.m. We're thrilled to welcome Lisa Mullis for an insightful webinar, a new framework to manage your hours for more revenue, creative energy, and sustainable growth. If you're looking to build smarter, healthier work habits as a creative professional, this is not to be missed. Then we have Show Off and Tell happening on Tuesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's part critique, part connection, part creativity boost. Bring your recent work, works in progress, or just come for the community. It's informal, fun, and a great way to stay inspired. Now, as for our announcements, hot off the press, our brand new 17th edition of the Handbook, Pricing and Ethical Guidelines, is now available for pre-order. Let me put that up. And also, of course, I'm always terrible about these, remembering the QR codes. So over here, I'm going to put our event calendar so you can go to all the events and sign up for them that I just talked about. And then right here, our 17th edition of the Guild Handbook is ready for pre-order. All right. I'm going to turn those off. And now we also have our guest for today, Treasa Edmond. I'm going to turn her camera on.
Hi, Leanne.
Hello. All right. And then in the chat, folks, like if you ever notice if our volume seems quiet, anything like that, please let us know so that we can keep things optimized and all of that. Let me turn this, like finding the thing to turn that off. There we go. Okay. So now we can just have it be us and we can chat. I'll make us larger. All right. So today we're discussing misclassification in job listings that call themselves freelance, but really aren't.
They do hurt in a big way. Misclassification, and it's not just job listings. It's in your relationships with your clients and if you're letting them run your business versus you running the business yourself. So it's a pretty huge issue. And a lot of people think it's just an issue with the employer. It's not. It actually affects us in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know I have been misclassified so many times. Like there have been so many instances, like especially while I was still in college or fresh out of college. Like one time, you know, I was in college and I'm just working for a very small like photography business. And I mean, I was only doing like 10 hours a week. And the person had me as a 1099, but they were completely making sure I was required to go into the office to do the work. I was required to have, you know, be button seat from this exact time to this exact time to do this. So like definitely misclassified.
Yeah. And it's, you know, let's talk about why it matters, because a lot of people are like, so what, you know, they're paying me money. I'm happy to do the work. It doesn't matter, but it does. It absolutely does. And I am not an attorney. I'm not giving legal or tax advice. This is do your due diligence. The point is you are required to do your due diligence. If you allow an employer or a client to misclassify you as an employee, that's on you. It's not on them. And it impacts both of us. So there are legal risks. So the government, IRS, Department of Labor, state agencies, they can all penalize the company for misclassification, but they can also ding you and take away your business license and stuff. Back taxes and benefits, they would own those or owe those, but if you allow them to not owe those, if you are complicit, then you could be seen as complicit in tax evasion, which is kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
But as a freelance business owner, there are direct risks to you. You can lose autonomy. You can get audited. They will look at everything that you've done to see if other clients have misclassified you as well. And then if they classify you as an employee, any business expenses you had at that point in time, none of those are deductible. So that can really increase our tax burden just kind of across the way. And we have to not do that. We have to run our business. And I was really, a long time ago when I first found out about this, I was like, well, why don't they tell us? Why don't they tell us these things when we sign up for a business license or whatever? And I actually reached out and asked because I was morbidly curious, like I always am. And they said it's not their job. It is our job as business owners to know which laws and regulations we have to abide by, which means that's a scary thing because there are a lot of them and we have to do a lot of research to get that. Yeah. So that's just, it's not a hands off, this isn't our issue. Right. It definitely is our issue, and it can actually cost a lot of money. And I know people who have been slammed for back taxes because all of their deductions were taken away to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. And that can break our businesses if we're not careful.
Now, how do some of the businesses, right? Like when you're saying they're misclassifying a business as an employee, how is that working? Because I've usually been in the reverse of that, where basically someone's treating me as an employee, but they're filing me as a 1099.
Right. But the thing is, you can be a business and be filed as a 1099. We all receive 1099s.
Yeah,
that's the way any contract engagement works. So if you and Leanne, even if you are doing it as a freelancer, you're still a business. The IRS sees you as a business, even if you're filing as a solopreneur, whatever that looks like. So you have to draw that line as a business. What you said about them misclassifying you and treating them as a worker. If they control how, when, or where you work, that's a misclassification. They can't tell you how to do the job. They can't tell you what tools to use to do the job, although they can make recommendations. And they cannot tell you where to work. So if they ever require you to be somewhere at a specific time or doing something at a specific time, that's a misclassification. Now, can you come to an agreement that, say you're going to be doing design work for a specific event or whatever, and you need to be at the event because you need to be doing it on the fly? That is an agreement. You're agreeing to work on site. You should be compensated for that. You should be paid for travel expenses. You should be able to deduct any of the travel expenses that aren't covered. Those are things to look at. If they're asking you to use their tools or systems exclusively, that is an employee thing. That is not you being a business. So you can't do that. That's if they're asking you to use their emails exclusively. I've had a few cases. Have you had a few cases where they've wanted you to use an employee email or a company email for some reason?
Yeah, definitely.
And I avoid that at all possible. I've gotten to the point now where I'm cranky about it. And I'm like, no, you can totally set one up. And my point of contact can pass me any messages from that are important. Or they can communicate through that. But I have my own business email.
Yep. I definitely at this point have always been using my own business email. At the very most, I'm like, the only reason I will ever allow you to make a email in your system for me is if I am helping you set up or edit or build a template in that system. But that's it. I'm not working in that system. I am not the employee who's living in that environment. Nope. I'll help fix it.
As designers, you have a whole other realm of things too. Source files. Are they buying the source files from you? I know that's a big thing. And if they require you to give those, or if they say in the contract that they own all of your source files or all of your work files for a thing, that's more employee. That should be a separate agreement. Sure. Yeah, that's a big thing. If they're monopolizing your time and you can't work
Yeah.
with other clients, that's an employee relationship.
Yep. Yep.
That the IRS actually, I believe, still stipulates, I know they used to, that you have to have one client can occupy no more than 80% of your time. So 80% of your income. So you need 20% to come from other clients. It's kind of a thing. If they treat you like staff, have you ever had a client who wanted to include you on their website as a designer?
I mean, I haven't had a client that's wanted to do that yet, but I have had like, I don't know, I've had instances. For the most part, I always just say no thank you to being
Yeah,
on anyone's website. But even if I was an employee, for the most part.
that's awesome. If they ask you to come to internal meetings regularly, so a
Oh,
one-off is a
those, yeah.
different thing. I already mentioned the company email. Another thing is if you're working indefinitely with no contract end. So my
Mm-hmm.
retainer clients have an end date. They are
Yep.
valid for 6 months or 1 year, and then we have a new agreement simply to avoid that. We already talked about the schedule, the location, and the work method. Now, can you work specific hours for a specific client? So if I sell a client a day rate package and I'm going to work with them, and you might do this as well. You have a specific design project you want to work on. You're selling them a day rate. You're going to work on their stuff, only their stuff, for 1 day a week. And you are available to them for questions and stuff during that day. That's a whole different thing. It's not every day and it's not constant. So there's a lot of murky water out there when it
There
comes
is.
to this. And they
Yeah.
make it seem like it's the normal thing.
Always. They always make it seem like, even if, and so often, I swear, it's like a lot of companies are kind of flying by the seat of their pants, and they just say it with confidence. They don't
Yeah.
actually know what they're talking about. They're just saying it with confidence. This is totally normal.
Yeah, yeah. I actually was involved in a conversation a while back, and the way the guy was listing, he was looking for writers, and the way he was listing it was totally employee. He wanted a resume. No, we have portfolios. We do
Mm-hmm.
not give resumes. We do not apply for jobs. We might pitch. We might, send in a proposal. We might do any of that stuff, but we should not be doing resumes and applications. A lot of organizations still do that, and we need to kind of move them away from that because they don't do that with any other contractor. It's
Yeah.
just with people they consider freelancers. So,
And one of the things that I keep seeing is how some of these job listings that say they're for a freelancer, right? There, there's a couple things here for the job listing stuff that makes me a little mad. So, of course, there's always the huge pay discrepancies. Like some of
yes.
them are like lower, like maybe like 35, something like that. Some of them are maybe like 50, 60. Now, I know for myself, if I see a freelance job that's like 35, 40, there's a few stipulations that would possibly make that worthwhile to me. And that would be, does it actually turn out that that job is a contractor job, a W-2 contractor job through a agency who is then contracting me out to another place? So they are doing all of that, like finding the client and all that type of work and the admin stuff, and kind of giving me a little bit of that layer of protection of my overtime and all that, and taxes. If that's the case, and I'm getting 35 to 45 an hour, there's some benefits that are added to that, which would make that more worthwhile to me.
Yeah. But you are an employee in that
But I
case.
would be actually an employee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what makes that worthwhile.
Yeah. Because
But
they're
it
doing all of
to
the other stuff, the overhead.
exactly. And then the company who I'm actually performing work for, I am a contractor to them.
Yeah. Well, the agency is, and you're the
Yes,
agency's
exactly.
right. Yeah.
Right.
It's I think there are a lot of hiccups that can happen here. There are also a lot of things. You mentioned job listings and pay. Um, I am a firm believer that we need to, as business owners, and every freelancer is a business owner, whether you believe that or not, we need to get rid of employee language, and pay is one of them. And rates is a thing. We should be setting our own rates. Our clients
Yes.
should never be setting them. They have a budget. We can totally set our rates to align with that budget, but we are setting the rates. And anytime a client is saying, this is what we're going to pay you, that's a red flag right there. And there are some things that you can do, and I'm sure you do these on a regular basis, Leanne, to make sure that you are not being misclassified. So set clear contracts, scope, deliverables, project timeline every single time, and it's for each project. Use language that asserts your independence. I'm really big on words. When I am talking to clients, I'm really careful to say partner with, not work for. I really make sure I'm doing that. So, and in your contract, it should say something along the lines of contractor will determine how work is completed.
Yes.
Stipulate it. It seems like overkill, but it's really not. Maintaining autonomy is a huge thing. Set your own hours, work from your own location using your own tools. Avoid employee-like perks. Paid time off, internal meetings. Anytime anything like that's mentioned, it's obviously an employee position. You can do that. But I've talked to a lot of freelancers who didn't realize it. They thought that they were, because I'm getting a 1099, I'm not an employee. That's not the case. That's not the case.
It's like, no, they're just trying to avoid paying the employer tax is what they're doing.
Yeah. And you really should register your business in some way. So don't be working with your social security number. Please don't be sending your social security number to your clients for 1099s. Get an EIN, get a business name, do those things, at least the EIN at the bare minimum. That's employee identification number, which is a misnomer, right? Because we're not employees. But that is a number that you can use in place of a social security number for tax purposes. And it creates that distinction between you and the entity that's being paid for the work. Business insurance for some of us is a good idea. Doing an LLC, those types of things create legitimacy, but they also protect us and separate us from the business, which I think that's the best way to run a business is you're an employee of your business, not anyone else. And that's the best way to look at it.
Definitely. And I know for myself, I've been really trying to push hard for more of like flat rate type stuff as opposed to like I'm gonna bill by the hour, because then it really does do some of also like that undervaluing.
It does. And how long have you been doing this?
Freelancing?
Yeah, just design work.
15 plus years.
Are you faster now than when you started?
So much faster. Exactly. Yeah.
So when you charge hourly, you are charging less because you got better at what you do. And how does that make sense?
Exactly. Right. And it's like, well, are you mad that I got it done faster?
Yeah. I am project-based pricing across the way. And most of my project-based pricing is value-based pricing. What is this project actually worth to a client? So if a client comes to me and let's say it's a content strategy, and they have $35,000 to $50,000 budgeted for their content strategy. And I had looked at what they needed and we go through the call and I'm like, well, this is really only going to take me about $10,000 worth of my time. Am I going to charge them $10,000 or am I going to budget within or price it within their budget range? So value-based pricing, and I know you probably do that a lot as well. You might be like, hey, this is only going to take me 30 minutes to finish, which no design work only takes 30 minutes. So if you're not a designer watching this, know that design work is highly, highly difficult. And time, you're labor intensive. It's just so labor intensive. But you don't want to say, well, it's only going to take me 30 minutes to make those changes, so I'm not going to charge you for it. You say, sure, I can make those changes. That's outside of the scope of our agreement. We can price that as a separate project. This is what that fee would be. Because it's obviously.
And I'll try, like, because of edit rounds and especially for like design work, anything like that, like I usually will include like in my given rate, right? I'll include, here's like maybe like a style test or a taste test of like the look of we're going for, then like round, like first draft, and then 2 rounds of edits, and that's it. But if you need to go beyond that, here's the flat rate that you're going to be billed for every additional change round.
And flat rates are great for things like that. What about rush fees? This is my thing. If I
I
tell
have a
them,
rush fee. Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Multiple.
amazing how often you can have a client who says, I need this by tomorrow. And you say, that's great. I can absolutely do that. I have availability. It's going to be a 50% rush fee or 100% rush fee. And all of a sudden they can have it next week.
Yep.
Yeah. And
yeah, I've actually been told, but I had a client, and 100%, I definitely think that they were like, they were like, I've asked, some of my agency design friends of mine that are like marketing directors over there and blah, 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 for like high up agencies. And they say that rush fees aren't a thing. So I want this taken out of my contract. I'm like, no agency or whatever is gonna say a rush fee is not a thing.
No. And that's like,
one
of
the
ways
trying to gaslight me.
And that's one of the ways that we establish ourselves as a contractor or as a business instead of as an employee, because we're setting the terms of the engagement. If you are ever signing a client's contract, which some of the larger organizations will have their own contract, that contract does nothing for you. It is not in place to protect you or your business or your work. It is to protect them 100%. If they will not allow you to add amendments or to amend that contract in any way, a huge red flag. I mean, that's just for your business, because they essentially own everything from the get-go, which is why I'm an advocate of you should have your own contract just across the board.
And it's a huge red flag, because more than likely, if they do that, they're probably going to start treating you like an employee.
Yeah. Yep. Anytime they say, you're in a project and they send an email saying, hey, can you have this part done by tomorrow? If that's not in the original scope, then that's something you need to renegotiate. Now, can you, out of the goodness and kindness of your heart, and because you have availability, say, yeah, I can do this as a one-off. I'd be happy to do that. But just to clarify, according to the terms of the scope of our agreement, blah, blah, blah. And in the future, anything like this would require a rush fee or an additional fee on top of the project. It's just all about making sure that you're the one in control of the terms of engagement.
Yeah. Oh, and then another thing I like to add into my contracts, just because it gets so annoying. I definitely add into my contracts. I forget exactly how I worded it, but I have to be notified at least 24 hours in advance before a meeting. So no, can we just hop on a call?
No, I do onboarding paperwork. I'm huge on client management, and onboarding paperwork is a big part of it. So it might be a simple email.
For me, it depends on the project.
Yeah. So for simple projects, I have an email and say, this is how I prefer to work, my terms of engagement, essentially. So I will do, I'm happy to jump on a call if you have additional questions. I limit it to one call per project if it's a smaller project. Here's the link to book that call, and it's always 24 hours out. If you have a more urgent situation, please email me. I answer all emails within 24 business hours. And so I tell them how I prefer to communicate, what my response times are. I want them to never feel like there's a surprise in how they're engaging with me, because the more comfortable they are with that, the rest of the relationship just goes really well. So I do onboarding paperwork, but for my larger projects, it's a PDF thing that's like 5 pages long, and it has all of those things. But every single time I say, if you would like a call, you can book it here. And there's a 24-hour hold time on those. If they need something more urgent, they can send an email. If it's truly urgent, I will absolutely say, let's go ahead and schedule a call. Are you available an hour from now? But that's me choosing to do that. So my clients are never choosing when I communicate with them. That's not to say.
I always say with those rush fees, it's like, I can only do the rush if I have availability. Like I cannot promise rush.
Yeah. And I don't say any of this to say that we're lording anything over our clients, that we are the boss of this situation. We're the boss of our business. That's the whole boss responses thing that I have going on. We are the boss of our business, and we should be setting the terms of engagement with our clients, but we should be doing that from a position of mutual respect, So we're respecting them, they're respecting us. If that doesn't exist, that's not a client for me. I know you have to deal with that a little bit more when you're first starting out. So if you are, know that it gets better as you go. But you absolutely have the right to expect your clients to communicate with you as an equal, because you're not an employee substitute. You are the expert at what you do, and they're contracting you to do the thing. So you deserve a modicum of respect for that. And I'm a tit for tat person with that. I want a client to respect me as much as I respect them.
Yep, absolutely. I'm
Yep.
trying to think if there's any other like some of the like things that have been going on recently. Some like especially with like all the stuff with extra all the layoffs happening, so of
Yeah.
course there's just and and then I don't know if we even want to touch on it, but of course there's also sometimes there's just like random ghost jobs. Like I swear, I mean, not to just like name drop, but like, should I name drop? I don't know.
Name
Mr.
drop.
Beast has had a job listing on LinkedIn. Like, I don't know, it's just like one of those things where, and I know it's a thing where they have a job listing and it just stays there. And I think they're just collecting resumes. And I think that's a thing where they call it like a ghost job listing.
Yeah.
So that way
Sometimes
the
they'll do that.
HR can just collect those
And then
things.
when they actually have an opening, they can pull from the pool. And it's fine if they tell that. They have an ongoing open job listing, and you can check. You can look back and see how long it's been open. Uh,
Yeah.
the
I wish they
biggest
would just be
problem,
more like I
transparent.
appreciate, yeah, I appreciate the ones that literally say it.
Yeah. I see a lot of those. More concerning to me is the people who post a position and have no intention of ever hiring. They're just collecting people's information, which is why I have limited information on. I don't send in resumes. I don't apply for jobs because I'm not, if I'm looking for an employment position, or if I see a position, like I've seen a couple recently, I'm like, hey, I think I might apply for that, just because that would be kind of fascinating to do that for a while.
Right.
That's a whole different thing. So if you're actually applying for an employee position, resume, all of that stuff's fine. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing that. And they shouldn't be posting freelance opportunities as job listings, because that's an immediate line that they're crossing. It's a
Yeah.
thing. You'd mentioned something. Oh, the term freelance. I
Yes.
I've been seeing a trend where, especially big business, is they're more derogatory toward anyone who calls themselves a freelancer. So I'm just putting this out there for everyone to think about. There are a lot of, because of those layoffs, there are a lot of people who have been forced into a freelancing situation who never intended to. They've wanted to be an employee. If you're doing it, even temporarily, you need to get rid of that employee mindset and start operating like you are a business, just across the board. But also, along those lines, if you are doing that, maybe don't call yourself a freelancer. Say that you're a professional writer, say that you're a writer, say that you're a designer. Call yourself by what you're doing. The word freelance doesn't have to exist in the situation. I think people who call themselves a freelancer are often the ones who are going to get the people contacting them for work, who are going to try to treat you more like an employee. But if you say, I'm a professional ghostwriter and content strategist, Leanne is a professional designer, then they're going to say, okay, and let's look at this from a professional level. It just puts you on a whole different, it's the difference between entry level and supervisory roles. And it makes a huge difference in the perspective that people have of you and what you do and how you're operating.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't even call it like freelance.
Right.
I've seen it. I've seen some jobs where it's not, and of course it's like you said, if you're genuinely doing this as a freelancer or as a business, like we really shouldn't even be applying to a lot of these job listings that look like they are supposed to be more freelance oriented or something like that. And it's like it's just feeding off like the desperation from so many
It
folks that
really is.
are just, it's like, what person who's just a bit down on their luck and just really needs a job can we get to fill this spot so we don't have to pay the employee taxes? And
Yeah. It's a very convoluted world. And the more you can separate yourself from it and operate as a business instead, the better it's just going to be all the way around. And that's when you start attracting better clients who respect you more, who are happy to pay you more. You know you've reached the right place when budget isn't the first thing they talk about. They want to talk about the solution that you're offering them, and then budget alignment comes up as the second part or the third part of the conversation. But anytime they start off treating you like an employee, it's just never going to get better. That's not a relationship that can change.
Yeah, it's true. It is so hard. It's like once that boundary is broken, once that standard is lowered or set, that's it.
Yeah. So mutual respect, treat your business like a business, and really stay in your lane and make sure that you're setting the terms of engagement.
Yeah. Put the boundaries up.
Boundaries. I love boundaries. I know a lot of people don't, but I think a lot of people misunderstand what a boundary is.
Yes.
A boundary is a line in the sand that you draw that determines your reactions. So you can't set boundaries for your clients and say, you can't do that thing. You're not the boss of them. But you are the boss of what happens if they cross the line, and then how you react to it. That's what a boundary is. A boundary governs our reactions, not what our clients can and can't do.
Yes, exactly. And then for just for having both sides of the coin, at least just to touch on it a little bit, for anyone who is trying to be more of an employee and all that at this moment, like, I just want to reiterate, when you are going through those job listings, seriously avoid the ones that do say freelance, because they are going to try to 1099 you. Check and like always ask. It's like, because like when I started, I thought I was being hired as an employee, and when the people were telling me, oh, and we're going to have you as a 1099, I didn't bat an eye because I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So make sure they're doing the W-2. If it's like some agency and they're contracting you out, yes, you are a W-2 employee for them, and that is a totally valid setup for that. Yeah. And then like just keep an eye on like some of the red flags that are in there that are basically, it's just like you can tell they're trying to do something weird and scummy.
If they are not offering you benefits, but they want you to work full time and they want you to do it as a 1099, they're just trying to avoid paying employment. And for it's that extra expense. That's not okay. That is a deliberate misclassification on the part of the organization. I've worked with clients who have tried to treat me like an employee, but it wasn't out of malice and it wasn't an intentional misclassification. They had just never learned how to work with a freelancer or a freelance business owner or a contractor, however you classify yourself. But there are businesses out there who will want people to work 32 hours a week or 40 hours a week, and they just don't want to pay all of those employment taxes and the benefits, and that is misclassification. So if you're looking for an actual job, make sure that you're being offered what is the due for being an employee.
Yeah. And all of this, for the most part, it works for, designers, writers, IT people, because, oh my goodness, the contracting stuff for government IT people and all that, it is so prevalent, and many other types of roles. So there is all of that.
Just across the board, and consultants as well. So higher level consultants. And if you're working with an agency, how the agency classifies you is the thing. If they want to give you a W-2, you are technically an employee. If they want to give you a 1099, then they should not be able to govern any of the things, just like any other business. You should be operating as a business and the agency is your client. That's a murky world right there when it comes to agencies. So.
Yep, it definitely can be. I've worked for some really great ones, and then some that was just not quite as awesome. But if you do find one of those, and if that's the setup that you really enjoy and it gives you less stress,
do it. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. And there are really good agencies out there. There are really bad agencies out there. So it's the spectrum, just like with us. There are really good writers and really bad writers, really good designers and really bad designers, just kind of across the board. What we need to do is just make sure that relationship, technically, if they're paying you through a 1099, then you're a subcontractor, which means the agency is your client. And you just need to make sure that you're maintaining that relationship. It might look a little different with an agency because they do have very set ways of operating, that doesn't mean that they can tell you how to run your business.
Yep. And I have had that relationship too, where I was basically filling a work gap for a creative agency for a little bit, just while they were like searching for a new designer to join their staff. And I, of course, didn't want to go full time, but I was willing to help out. So subcontracted, all that. They did not tell me how to do my job. They were like, if you would like to come into the agency when you would want to, you're welcome to the free coffee or whatever, but we're not going to tell you how to do the job. So
Yeah. And that's a wonderful thing because you get freebies. Yeah. So
yeah.
I like freebies. I'm a bargain hunter.
It is nice. But I think, have we covered pretty much everything for today? Can you think of anything else?
No, I think that's the main things. The most important thing is educate yourself on this.
Yes, definitely.
Leanne and I are speaking from experience here, but that doesn't mean we know everything. From bad experiences and good. That doesn't mean we know everything. And you are required to know the legalities of this for your business. So if you are freelancing, if you're running your own business in any way, shape, or form, then this is something that you need to know about. And it's actually really important. And it can change the way your business operates, which is, I think, pretty wonderful.
It is. And then, Treasa, did you want to say anything? Like, I can give you like at least a couple of minutes here at the end. Do you want to like give yourself a shout out or your business or anything like that?
I'm telling you, I really hate promoting myself, but I will say I'd love to connect with anyone who's watching.
Let me put that. Here's the QR code.
Okay, so connect with my LinkedIn, or you can come to bossresponses.com. I have a newsletter for Boss Responses that is all about how to run your business as the boss of your business. I also have a free community, the Boss Responses community. You can join through there. There's a paid level of that where you get a lot more value, but the free value is, or the free version is just a place for people to come and gather and talk to other freelancers and get feedback and support all of the fun stuff. I have free events, like there's a Q&A with Ed Gandia and Michelle Garrett coming up in August that you can sign up to attend in there or from the website. What else? Oh, I also do coaching. So if you want someone to help walk you through any of this or to help you grow your business in any way, I work with mindset, business systems, priorities, all of that stuff to help people take that next step to make their business more their own.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. And this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah. And everyone watching, I hope you have a great rest of your Friday.
All right. Take care.
Take care.